Hey! How you going, internalists? It's internal Lars here. We can see here this book, the complete book of Tai Chi Chuan, or Tai Chi Chuan, spelt in the old Wade-Gillis phonetic system. Let me show you something which I disagree with. And if I explain this, then people will start to understand my interpretation of Tai Chi Chuan. So let's have a look at this book and let's look at what it gets wrong, in my point of view, from the point of view of my interpretation of Tai Chi. Qigong training as an integral part of Tai Chi Chuan is not only essential for effective self-defense, it is also necessary for good health. Tai Chi Chuan without Qigong is no longer Tai Chi Chuan. It becomes a form of gentle exercise which may provide some benefit in terms of blood circulation and recreation, but is unlikely to give the type of vitality and mental freshness commonly ascribed to as Tai Chi Chuan training. So that's a very simplified way of looking at it. I suppose that's it's okay so far if you're explaining what Tai Chi is to a beginner, or for someone who has absolutely no idea. This is probably a sufficient way to start. I mean, if you try to go any more deeper into that, and it gets confusing. So that's kind of okay so far. Now let's see what it says next. This next part is very, very typical of what Tai Chi books, or what books that claim to explain what Tai Chi is all about will say. It'll say something along the lines of, the highest attainment of Tai Chi Chuan is spiritual attainment, which elevates the art like Shaolin Kung Fu far beyond the level of ordinary fighting arts. Spiritual development in Tai Chi Chuan is closely related to, or even synonymous with, Taoist cultivation, Dao Jiao, which is non-religious as it does not involve any dogmas or worship, and for people of any religion can practice it. Taoist cultivation, which will be explained in chapter involves 3 stages, namely cultivation of Jing, essence, to become Qi, energy, cultivation of Qi to become Shen, spirit, and cultivating Shen to return to the cosmos. Qigong is therefore the bridge leading from physical Jing to the spiritual Shen. So this way of explaining it is, well, I guess in a lot of ways, kind of the only way you can put it in a short book like this. But the part that I disagree with is the part where most of these texts will claim that the highest attainment of Tai Chi is spiritual development and not fighting, and this is where I clash quite severely. The highest level of attainment of Tai Chi is the development of internalized skills and awareness and mindfulness applied to movement to the point that it can compensate for the typical survival of the fittest approach and that whole dynamic of martial arts and of fighting, of how most people understand it, because that's all they're willing to accept. And the other reason is that most people, because they don't exercise a lot, or are not that aware of their body's capability on such an internalized level, they can't see what the body is actually capable of, what they can be capable of once they reach a deeper level of mindfulness. So, yeah, in some way, I do agree that the highest attainment of Tai Chi Chuan is spiritual development. If you want to look at it in a grand ultimate scheme of things, but the reality is, the here and now, which is relevant, is in fighting. So there's no use talking about spiritual development if you can't overcome this survival of the fittest dynamic which dominates fighting. If you can't overcome that by developing internalized skills through mindfulness to be able to overcome that predominant brute strength dynamic. And of course, it's not to say that MMA fighters are not skilled. No, of course they are very skilled, but it only goes to a certain point when you exclude deeper mindfulness related training like Tai Chi Chuan.